Hey, nope, absolutely not. Do you hear us?
Yeah, guys.
Hey, hey,
Hi.
hey. Looks like Rob has some audio problems. Nope.
No, if you're talking, we don't hear you at all. It says that you're unmuted, but there's no.
So I cannot hear anything if you are talking, Rob. Sorry about that. Can you hear us?
Yeah, do you hear us? That's a good question.
Okay, you can hear us, but we cannot hear you.
Maybe try if it's like Bluetooth, maybe try disconnecting it, or if you have speakers from the computer, maybe switch them. I used to have to do that all the time for my computer.
And I, from time to time, had it that it's using a different mic. So clicks this,
Mm,
like arrow up
yeah.
icon next to audio, and maybe a different mic has been chosen. I had that sometimes that it used my mobile phone, which was like in another
Yeah.
room or something like that. Yeah.
I had it one time connected to my phone, and my phone was in the kitchen, but the meeting was going from the computer.
Yeah.
So I was like, "What's going on?"
This is British Transport Police. If you notice something out of the ordinary, speak to a member
Sophie's
yourself
watching TV.
or text us on
Ooh,
6101.
Hi,
is
I'm late for
hi.
work, so
Hi. So Rob, we can still not hear you. Maybe you restart your system. I don't know. And we will wait. Um,
Hi, Keith. Hi, Evelyn.
Hello.
hey. Yeah, so we were able to hear you, Sophie, but there was a lot of background noise, like a
Yeah,
TV was on or something.
yeah.
So let's wait until Rob comes back and hopefully we can then hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Finally. Okay. That's so weird. I've never had that happen before. I don't know. But all right, let's go ahead and get started now that all my issues are figured out. Um, we got a couple things on the agenda today. First, we're going to start with SDK updates like we've been doing. See where we're all at. And then Hendrik's got a few topics for V3 and the uh, best practices guidelines for our API definition for the SDK hub. So did we want to? Oh, Hendrik.
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest, based on our discussion last week, especially that you, Sophie, and I had at this one SDK maintainer and committer group to the agenda. I don't know if we come to that, but I assume if we have it on the agenda, you can easily copy it to next week, you know?
Sorry, what specifically are you referring to?
Like having for all the SDKs one maintainer and one committer group instead of having multiples per SDK.
Oh, you mean just like everyone present as one? Sorry, I'm not
No,
following.
no, no. I said I asked if you can edit at the end of the agenda.
Yeah. We can do that. You mean just like? Sorry, I'm still not following you. So, what do you want me to add to the agenda?
I will keep track of it for and ping you for next week. I think we do not come to that anyway.
Okay, sounds good. Um, did JS want to start with their updates?
Yes. So yes, JS coordination is underway with the JFI team to introduce good first issues for the JS SDK. Basically, we've started coordinating with the GFI support team to introduce good first issues for the JS SDK with the focus on improving the onboarding experience for new contributors. So basically, I will be focusing this week on editing the existing issues to match the template that is used to uh, make sure that every issue has its own level of expertise, and I need to edit the tags and the description of the repository. Currently, I don't have the permissions, so I'm not sure because I'm a committer, but yeah, I'll probably discuss this offline. And that's pretty much about it.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome that we're getting GFI started there. Yeah, I think we got the guidelines and templates merged, correct? Or at least we're close. Um, yeah, I guess it would be hard to merge if you're not a maintainer. I thought you were. That was my bad. But yeah, I think we should probably try and get you to be a maintainer there.
Great.
Um, yeah, awesome. Um, do we have updates for Java and Go?
As far as I know, for the Go SDK, only the protobuffs were updated last week.
Okay, and that's to update the protobuf so we can get hooks released here soon.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're still waiting on a consensus node tag for that. But I think there was also some discussion about doing a beta release. Is Keith on the call? Keith. Yeah, Keith. Did we come to a formal conclusion about if we were going to do a beta release for that, Keith?
I mean, I thought we did. That was my request.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we just need to coordinate that with the SDK teams and make sure that we are able to do that when we want to do that. Yeah, I don't know exactly who's going to be looking to use those beta releases, but uh, yeah, we can coordinate offline, I think. And then was Go primarily just waiting on the protobuf tags too? Do we know about Go?
Well, I guess yes. It was waiting for the new prototypes, so the functions could be like renamed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
To match the new implementation from the protobufs.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, and then yeah, I mean, so Swift and C++ are the same way. Waiting for the tags to integrate hooks. Some other updates for those. The Swift 6x support is going to be released and announced in only a couple hours, actually. So we're going to be releasing 0.47 for Swift, which will integrate that support. There's going to be a Hedera blog post, a Hiero blog post announcing that. And I think there was going to be an announcement on Twitter for that too. But yeah, this will be good going forward. Hopefully, we'll get some get some more Swift developers to come in and start doing some good first issues there. I think this has kind of been a major blocker for that. But we'll see. And then C++, the we keep seeing an increasing contributor count, which is awesome. Yeah, we have newcomers coming in. We have a couple people do multiple issues and PRs now, getting those merged. So that's great to see. So we're going to be looking to keep that going and yeah, see where we can go from there. And then do we have any updates on Python, Angie or Sophie?
I can do it for Python. As of right now, the newest thing will be the implementation of HIP 1261. I am currently working on it. Beyond that, in terms of the Good at GFI initiative, we are still seeing some great progress. We are finding a couple of contributors are now expanding their searches to JavaScript. We have some contributors looking to join the Hiero website as well. So we're super happy to see they are branching out. But beyond those two items, I don't believe there was anything more.
Cool, good to hear.
Can you hear me? Is the audio super bad?
No, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, I will try to talk not very much. Sorry, I've not really been able to find a place indoors to be able to have this conversation. Yeah, the Python SDK is probably got maybe. I kind of underestimated now that we added issue recommendations. So when someone closes a pull request, they get recommended the next one. And that's kind of created like a flywheel effect. So I'm struggling again with too much activity. So I'm personally suggesting like slowing down on the issue front, at least for the Python SDK. And what I wanted to talk about, sorry, there's literally a plane. 1 second. What I wanted to talk about is just thinking ahead. What can we do to structure the progression of committers and maintainers to enable them to have enough diversity in their contributions, enough support, and go through like all of the training and things like that. So I'm just thinking ahead, like, are we going to need to have more triage teams across Hiero? Are we going to need to have like an individual support team? As we have, I think, like nearly 130 contributors now, I'm not really able to talk to everyone as I used to, and have those long conversations about what really mattered to them. So thinking ahead, I think that's going to be a big challenge, and maybe the C++ SDK is going to be experiencing that soon. I don't know, Rob, if how manageable like your workload is at the moment. I know you're like it's been super successful to get new starters. So yeah, what are you thinking like in terms of next steps for that?
For C++, I definitely, I was probably going to look into getting the workflow bots going this week, or at least like the, some of the basic ones, like the, like auto assigning and, maybe the inactivity one as well. I don't know. I still need to look through them all, but, yeah, I definitely want to get those going. And then, I don't like, I guess I'm kind of the opinion that, because like obviously like you've been getting a lot of contributors. Some have upgraded to junior committers and committers and all that, but the repo or a repo can only go as fast as like its maintainers can go. So I'm kind of the opinion that if we want things to progress and go quicker, it's gonna be dependent on how many maintainers that we're able to get. Like if we have like a bunch of committers and none of them want to be maintainers, and it's like, well, the repo is only going to be able to go so quick, which is unfortunate, because it's that could end up resulting in PRs sitting unreviewed for a couple days maybe, and maybe that's not the best new contributor experience. But if no one wants to take on the responsibility of being a maintainer, then that's unfortunately that's kind of how it has to be. Again, that's just my opinion. Hendrik.
Yeah, I agree mostly on that. So I would say no one tells us that we need like 100 or whatever contributors per repository. I think it's a huge achievement for the Python SDK, but for let's say like for the other SDKs, if we get 10 additional contributors per SDK per quarter, I would say we are already good. And on the other hand, it's not a must to like so it's not a must for Sophie or for anybody else to be forced to go back to this 120 people that the Python SDK has. It's great that we have achieved it, but on the other hand, we can do what we can do, and we cannot do if it's too much. And I think here we are at a point where it's getting too much, and it must be clear to people that while we want to spend part of our working time to work on that, be mentors and move it forward, that it should not be the goal to spend 100% of our time on that topic. And I think we need to find a good, like agreement and ratio on how much time we want to spend on that topic. At the end, if we do so much good first issues, for sure it can happen that people work on good first issues and we are not able to take care of all of them. That's why I said our goal should it be to always have a handful, but never more, because I hope with that you do not come into that point that too many people have questions and you are not able to answer them anymore. For the Python SDK, since we're in this situation, I totally agree. We need to find a good solution for that. So I'm not saying, let's don't care about those people. But for the other SDKs, we can learn from that and say, okay, let's try to, to define even how much issues we create and so on, to have some influence on the growth and not to grow it too fast.
Yeah, and sorry, I think my sound is going to be even worse right now. But I agree with the points. I don't think we should ever scale beyond what's sustainable. But creating a new committer still takes 6 months, and you need to give them the diversity of the issues. You kind of need to make sure they have like enough exposure to lots of different things, and they also want to be committers. And so my question was more like, what can we do to create like a smoother pipeline for new committers or new maintainers? I don't necessarily think we need to add too many committers or too many maintainers if we slow down. But at the moment, it's just, we don't really have like a strategy in place. So yeah, that's what I wanted to ask.
Totally makes sense. Yeah. My suggestion would be to move that in the good first issue meeting. What do you think about it?
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. I think we can continue that discussion there. That's definitely important though. Like we need to come up with a strategy for that, especially with JS starting here soon too. I really think JS is going to explode with new contributors. Like once we get that fully going. I completely agree. I think that's going to mean we're going to be forced to think about this faster than we anticipated.
Yep, 100% agree. Yeah, let's remember to talk about that on was that on Thursday? Yeah. Great. Okay, cool. Sounds good for Python. Was there any Rust update? Has there ever been any work done on Rust?
Yes, the Spectre upgrade transaction is currently in progress. Also, the simple fees heap is also in progress, like the refactoring to use the mirror node REST endpoint instead of the gRPC one, which is non-existent. It's still blocked by attack, but yeah, we can move with the implementation. So
awesome. How are the TCK endpoints coming with Rust? Are those pretty much caught up, or is that still kind of in progress?
it's still in progress. Today I mainly worked on them, and I'm almost done with my part, and I'll continue like with the rest, and hopefully I'll be able to nail them down by the end of this week.
Great, sounds good. Were there any questions about any SDK updates? About anything for any specific SDK? Oh, there's one more item here, security reports. Who's going to talk about that? All right. I'm not sure who added that, but okay. I guess we can move on to the key handling for V3, Hendrik.
Sure. So you don't know what is behind security reports as a topic?
Well, I think there was some like bug bounty reports that we had. I didn't have anything to report myself necessarily. I don't know if someone yeah, added this and wanted to talk about something specifically, but yeah, I didn't have any reports myself.
Well,
Okay.
oops, someone was starting to talk. Okay, so we started looking at some of these reports. I think Deepak is currently taking looks at reports and building channels in Slack. So we are working on those. We already fixed one bug bounty in Go. And yeah, I think that the appropriate issues will be created. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, Hendrik, go ahead for V3. Did you
Sure.
want to share?
Yeah. So some weeks ago, I think it was end of December actually, Rob gave a quite good overview on containers and different formats for keys. And based on that input, Rob and I worked on some prototypes like how a key handling and especially a key reading and so import and export of keys could look like. And we had some good ideas. And what I did based on that, I created a Java-based prototype to prove our thoughts and added tests to that prototype that test all the different formats if input and output is working. There's a pull request for that. Let me open that one. I will show what I have in the IDE, but I'm happy to share the pull request here. Because it's still open, and if you have some thoughts on it, would be great to directly comment it in the pull request. So I share it here in the chat. It's this one. It goes to the SDK collaboration hub. Because in the SDK collaboration hub, if I share that, we have this folder V3 sandbox. And in this folder, currently all the work for a possible V3 of the SDK is happening. And I have opened here the draft of a possible key API created in a generic meta language. So that is not a specific like Java or JavaScript language. And what we figured out at the end is that when you have a key and you want to import or export it, we created something that is called key format, which combines a key container like PKCS8 or SPKI, which are key container formats, with a key encoding. And the key encoding could be DER or could be PEM. So that is like the definition of the formats we support. And when you want to read a key or write a key, in general, you need to give in one of those formats. So when you put in a string, that the system knows how to handle that string and decode the real byte raw keys in a given algorithm out of it. And we tried all the different possibilities that make sense. And I think I can switch to this, which makes it a little bit more readable. And then maybe, yeah, zoom in here. Give me a second. Here we go. So here you see all the different ways we figured out that are meaningful to read keys. So for sure you can, just create a random key by giving in an algorithm. So an algorithm is something like ED25519 or ECDSA. and you just give in that algorithm, and boom, you create a key object, either private key or a public key. If you want to read a specific key out of a config file from wherever you want, there are different variations how you can do it. The most easiest way is you just put in a string, but that then must be written in a specific format, like for private keys, PKCS 8 PEM, or for public keys, SPK8 PEM. That could change. We need to define what we want to have as default here. Those look like the most common ways how keys are handled these days. Next to that, you can give such a key format, like, okay, this is PKCS8 with PEM, and here you have everything as a byte stream. Or, hey, this is PKCS8 with PEM, and here you have everything as a string. And internally, it can then figure out and create either a private or a public key out of it. The other solution that exists, might not be that common, but exists, is that you have the key really as a raw byte array, and that you say, okay, I have a key in the algorithm, I don't know, ECDSA8. No, what's ECDSA? And here are the raw bytes. Or I have it in ECDSA, but I don't have bytes because I have written it in a config file. In that case, you need to define an encoding, either is it hex or base 64 as an example. So those are the different ways that, from our point of view, make sense to read keys. And for those, we were able to create, for all the different scenarios that exist, unit tests that can be executed and just working. So if we are using that way, we're coming to a direction where it's not really clear anymore. And when talking about reading strings, that's the discussion we had for some longer time when we talked about it. So here we really be able, here you see like different variants, how in hex format something could be defined, and all of that is working. So we are able to use all of that and say, okay, that is a valid PKCSA 8 with DER format, and all of that can be read and then exported in a plain format again. So I could do a deep dive here. Actually, I don't know how much deep dive is needed. The best would be if people have a look at the PR and do a review of it, because once we've get that merged, we can do what I did with Java with a second language and see if the specifications we made here are work for other languages next to Java too, and if we get everything implemented for other languages in the same way. Any questions, thoughts, comments?
Yeah, I just have a couple comments. Yeah, I know we talked about this before, and this is what we came up with. I really like this approach. I think it's good because it gives developers and users like that there's an option for I don't want to call them simple users, but just like the throw in a string and it works. It's good for people that know a bit more about cryptography, know about the algorithm and key formats and stuff. There's options for them, but also it's like extensible, with the enumerations that we define. If there's another key format we want to support down the road, it's just boom, you just add another enum value and then implement and we're good. So I think this is a really good approach. I do want to go through and do a deeper dive review of this again at some point. Hopefully we'll do that sometime this week. But yeah, I really like this. I think this is a good way to do it going forward. And as far as the implementing this as just like a POC in other languages, I don't know if we'd want to put all those in the SDK hub
Oh,
itself.
I mean, so what I yeah, that's a point we should discuss. So what I did prototype keys Java here as a subfolder, and we could do like prototype keys, I don't know, Rust, if it makes sense here. And as you can see, so I have not implemented anything next to the key API here and wrote tests for it.
Hmm. Yeah, well, actually, this kind of makes me think of something that I was thinking about earlier. I think uh, SDK Hub would be a good spot to store like common test
Mhm.
vectors that for keys would be perfect. I know there's also like different RFC test vectors out there for different uh, crypto functions or whatever. But yeah, I think we want to store these here, and then yeah, I don't know if we'd want to uh, do a POC for every language necessarily.
I
I think
don't think we need it. Yeah.
yeah, I think maybe just yeah, I think I'd be good with Rust and maybe like JS too. Um, but yeah, think that'd be good if we could get a couple of those. And then I know we still need to kind of roadmap V3 a little bit more, and get a fuller POC developed. So I think if we got like a couple languages in here, that'd be a good start, at least to show that this can be done in all the languages that we support.
Yeah. And if when we come to the next topic on the agenda, we will see I created, so this sample I have here, 75% of it has been created by AI based on the um, specifications docs we now have for languages, which worked very, very good. So 25% was, like doing manual work and changing things, moving some things to the right way, remove some codes that don't make sense, and so on. But my hope is with having for another language a similar documentation than we have for Java, and then giving that together with this implementation in Java that we have, the outcome will be maybe near 90% instead of near 75% for another language to create something like this.
Hmm. Yeah, honestly, like we probably have like AI like help with those best guidelines too
Yeah.
for each different language, just following what you've done for Java so far.
Yeah, and with those creating like this classes is really straightforward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like, even in this doc too, like specifying like the namespaces like gives it structure as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
So it
that's
really directly creates here the folders, everything correctly, and so most of the things I needed to do is creating some here for some of the types, some util classes, make everything look a little bit nicer in the implementation. But if I hide the implementation, I would say from that, mostly everything has been generated by the AI based on this documentation we see here. And maybe we just move now to the next topic and the API guidelines that we have. Because where we're currently working on is this guideline section that, on the one hand, gives an overview about a meta language that should be used whenever in a proposal or in the V3 sandbox we define any new APIs, any API changes, and so on. And the goal is that this meta language can define everything we use in or need in the SDKs, but not more. It don't define endless types. It defines a clear list of supported types and so on. It has some annotation for things like immutable stuff, for things like, okay, a min length, a max length for ints, but it do not has like verify if that is an email or whatever. So it really does more or less what we need for defining new proposals and APIs in a language independent way. And next to that, I created for Java a guideline about, okay, if a proposal contains something in this meta language, how should that be implemented in Java? With a lot of samples, with a lot of documentations, and so on. And there are even one or two pull requests still open that add new functionality to it. And what I learned with the three files, like this API guideline and this how to transform the APIs into Java, I can easily take like this specification for V3 regarding how configuration should look like and say, hey, create a Java project out of it, and boom, it's mostly correct already. And that is, I think, a great step forward, because if we continue that path, we can automate a lot of things when it comes to new proposals for HIP, especially when it's about, oh, we want to add a new property or we want to add some functionality by providing that as API changes based on this meta language, and let us use AI with those best practices guideline to, first of all, create an automatic approach for it that we then only need to review and maybe, like sharpen at several things, do some refactoring. But at least for Java, the things I'm currently seeing are very, very good. And what I did, I started a pull request, which is best practices for other languages started, where I created for all the other languages we have a more or less empty file. The only thing it currently contains is an overview of the native types, how to do that in the given language. And I would really ask you as SDK maintainers to take those and help me to move that forward, so that in a month or two, we have for every language a very good base and could at least use that to prototype proposals in that language, to prototype things for V3 by using API and so on.
Yeah, because if we get these, like you said, if we get these best practices kind of outlined for each language, that can help like anyone could go in and generate something with AI that'll get 70, 80% of the way there. So that will help, take some load off the
Yeah.
maintainers, and yeah, um, yeah, I think that'd be great, and I think that's a good step for kind of getting V3 moving forward a little bit more. Are there
Yeah,
any
especially
other?
for prototyping. It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any other inputs from any other maintainers about that? Yeah, I think at least for me, like I want to look into this either this week or next week, and get those documents kind of a bit more filled out, and depending on what languages we want to try for a V3 POC, maybe get the keys prototype written up in there too.
Yeah.
Maybe C++ might be a good option. I don't know. But Yeah, I think we can discuss that a little more.
Yeah, and I would really like to have those best practices docs first, because then we
Yeah.
can really try, how fast could we go with AI to create a prototype for keys in, let's see, like C++, based on the documents we have. And yeah, then we know, oh, do we need to create more documentation, or are we already at this 80% mark, and everything else can easily be done manual? Yeah, I would really like to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, any other comments on that from anyone?
And I assume, Angelina, like this one can then be used as, for example, a good input for this Rabbit AI. How is it called? Like that you use for pull request reviews.
Oh, the Code Rabbit.
Oh, Code Rabbit. Yeah, exactly. Because if Code Rabbit would have those files in the context, it could really say like, hey, you, like, from a logical point of view, what you did is wrong, but the public APIs that you have created do not fit to our best practice guidelines. That would be another achievement out of that from my point of view.
Hmm. Yeah, I was just talking to Sophie this weekend about the another use of Code Rabbit. Its pull requests um, reviews have been like pretty good from what I've seen. Another kind of thing I thought we could use it for is to catch breaking changes. Um,
Yep.
yeah, see like what if any API is changed or whatever. But yeah, I think we should utilize that a lot more. I think it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. We should um, try to move that like to more SDKs. How is it completely free for open source and unlimited use able for open source?
That's the impression I got. I feel like I remember reading that somewhere, but I can't remember more. Maybe Angie, do you know?
For Code Rabbit availability?
Yeah, like is it how what is it free for like open source development or
Oh. Yes, from what I understand, I do believe it's free regarding the implementation of it. Though that would go through, I believe Jessica. I think she was the one to help us get that set up for the Python SDK. But yes, as far as I'm aware, the use of that tool is free and does not, I don't believe it incurs any charges unless you're using some kind of premium features, but I can't imagine we would need anything like that just yet because most of our instructions are, trying to find the word. They're like they're manually put in there. For example, the when the code rabbit goes through and it does the PR reviews pertaining to token classes, the reviews that it's doing are because of the manual addition of instructions and the way that we want the rabbit to review it. I believe may have a link to that. That was a very old
Mm.
PR, if I'm not mistaken. I don't, I think Sophie also was working on that with me at one point because I think we, I think the three of us have been discussing that implementation. Let me see if I can find it.
that you had like a markdown file or something, right? That was like
Mm.
almost like 1,000 lines or something. Just
Yeah,
getting
yeah, that is crazy. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I just
Um,
checked. It is really free. I would expect that it will not be free all the time. I mean, they must have very high cost if they just say, "Oh, every open source project can use this for free," and every pull request is fully reviewed many times by us. I don't know if that is from a cost factor something they can do endless. So I like the tool, but for us it must be clear that there could be a near future where we need to pay by developer or whatever, like we would do when we use Copilot. My assumption is that how is it called? Code Rabbit is currently just, like that famous because it costs no money, and that is why people use it over Copilot from GitHub. If it would cost the same as Copilot, I assume people would use Copilot again. And my assumption is that this will come sooner or later. Maybe I'm wrong, but we need to keep that in mind.
Definitely. As of right now, we have been fortunate enough to where we haven't needed that. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it stays that way and that everything that we've done thus far can be selective in terms of what we need. So I did go ahead and link in the pull request from a few weeks ago. This pull request more or less updated the review instructions for how we want CodeRabbit to review pull requests related to the token class. So here in the Markdown, let me see if I can find the exact. Yep, here it is. I'll just paste it in here with the changes in case anyone's on mobile and it's easier. Oh, bye. Thanks for coming. So in that first file there, that would be the instructions for how we want the bot to review this. So we can, of course, expand on this file if there are classes, queries, or just other items in general that we feel the bot could improve upon in its reviews. That is definitely something we can go forward and make. But as of right now, I don't believe there have been any other changes to the bot, at least from what I've been seeing so far. Majority of them are just good first issues, but should we ever need to expand it or add more instructions, we certainly do have that capability for free.
So these were added specifically for the token classes. Was there a reason it just wasn't included for all of them, or was it you just kind of that's what you were focusing on at the time? Like could this be expanded to like
Yeah.
do all of them? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. At the time, when I was working on this, this was just one of the issues that had been open, and that was just a point. For me personally, I just wanted to learn a bit more about CodeRabbit and how to manually allow it, so to speak, to review PRs adequately. And so I kind of took the dive into that, tried to figure it out, and learn how we could expand it for other kinds of classes. So to answer your question, yes, it was just for the token classes, just because that was the issue we had open at the time. But it most certainly can be expanded for other use cases, and we are happy to add the expansions into the other SDKs when the time comes.
Yeah, we were very much testing it out and seeing.
Yeah.
So we learned, for example, if you prompt it like with a priority 1, priority 2, it starts being like, you have a critical issue, you need to fix it right now. So we were intentionally going slower. And prompting CodeRabbit well, I think takes a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think yeah, again, like I've seen like the Code Rabbit reviews, like at least with the way you guys have it configured, I think have been pretty decent. Yeah, they hit on a lot of stuff. Uh, yeah, at least like when I've been looking through, like I like see like there's like nothing, almost nothing more for me to address because Code Rabbit like addresses it all. So um, yeah, I think it's in a good spot right now, and I would like to get it incorporated into others as well.
Yes, definitely. The goal was for this was to provide the most adequate first review that we possibly could without human intervention. There are going to be instances where maybe you notice the bot goes a little bit overboard. So we are working to address some of those. But the to circle back, the ultimate goal was to just make it a bit easier on some of the maintainers to kind of go in and see what the bot catches first, see what that contributor has been able to correct on their own from the bot's review. And then at that point, we provide the manual human intervention for anything further that we see, or just let them know, hey, maybe this suggestion from the bot is a little too advanced. You can ignore it for now because it is out of scope for this PR, but leave a note saying can be addressed in a future issue and stuff like that.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, sounds good. So we had one more topic on the agenda with our last couple minutes here. So I understand there was some talk about the cadence of this meeting last week. It sounds like there was maybe a push or desire to make these bi-weekly instead of weekly. I wanted to hear a little bit more about about that from people that wanted that. I was under the impression that the weekly cadence was good for everyone. They wanted regular updates, and it was just a good cadence to at least have discussions and kind of open forums, I suppose. So I guess I wanted to hear more what because ultimately, like in my mind, like this community call is for the community. It's a spot for people to come in and hear what we're doing, ask questions, but also discuss like various designs. We had a V3 talk today, stuff like that. So I want to get a better idea of what people, I guess, want from this meeting and maybe what they're not getting, and if for whatever reason the weekly cadence feels like too much for them. So yeah, does anyone that was here last week want to share their thoughts? Keith?
Yeah, I can start because I think I was the proposer of this. I would say first say that just to note that I think this call started as a biweekly and then it moved to a weekly, and I'm not too sure how that happened, but that was something that I don't know if we discussed when it moved to weekly, so I just want to bring that up again. So I'm just going to broaden out to my experience with other community calls. I mean, community calls often have a life to them, and if they're not compelling and interesting, I mean, I've been part of many community calls that have died. Attendance just drops to zero over time. So I think it's the question is what makes the recipe for a successful community call? In my mind, the most successful community calls have it's not so much the cadence, but it's that there's enough content so that when you attend a community call, it's full of really interesting and compelling content. And part of that also includes like the best community calls I've been part of is like there's an agenda. That agenda is published well before the meeting, and that agenda is full of like interesting topics. So you see the agenda and you're like, oh, that looks really cool. I want to attend that meeting. And that's what drives a lot of attendance because there's things that people really, first of all, they know what's coming in that meeting, so they can clear time on their calendar and then they can attend. So I think my question is like, does the SDKs at this stage have enough compelling content for a weekly meeting? I also just want to make one note is that Rob, I think that this call is a great time for people in EST. This call, this is a 7 a.m. call for me. So it's also that while I love attending this call, I think we have to recognize that it's a sacrifice to attend this call. And I don't mind making that sacrifice. Okay, this is my perspective now, but I'm sure a lot of our colleagues on this call, it's 5 p.m. in their time zone. So this is their dinner time. So like it's a balance of like good cooperation, but yet also being respectful of people's time. So make sure we're not just having meetings just for the sake of having meetings. We're having meetings because there's enough content to drive compelling conversations, compelling presentations, and that makes it worthwhile to attend the call.
Hendrik?
So my point of view is that we can easily have every week those topics, and even if we take the call from today, right? So going through each and every SDK, checking what are the news, then maybe talking a little bit about community growth, or something like that. If we leave this discussion and everything we three aside, that would have been a half an hour meeting. And if we have a weekly meeting and after half an hour we see, okay, we do not have anything more on the agenda, do people have any additional questions? No. Then we're good after half an hour and said, yeah, we're good, and now leave. And I would prefer that over switching to bi-weekly and then have, like content postponed for at least 1 week, and people in worst case need to wait. Like I have done my things for the V3 since 2 weeks now, and I was able to present it now. If we would not have done a meeting today, I would only present it next week, which would now, in this special case, because I was not able to attend last week, mean I need to wait 4 weeks to get something like that discussed with the people. And with all that, I would really like to have a weekly meeting for this topic. But it's not my 7 o'clock in the morning. So I totally understand that point.
Yeah, with the timing, it's tough because I mean, we have people on the West Coast in the U.S. We have people in Germany, Bulgaria. Like that's no matter what time we pick, that's going to be
Yeah.
inconvenient for
But
some.
there's a consideration for this, right? If you do like a bi-weekly or a monthly call, like somebody from Asia will make the special effort to join that call because it's the call. If it's a weekly call, and like Hendrik, you just said, oh, we do a half an hour, and then we just if we don't have enough content, we just drop. Nobody from a time zone where this is not convenient is going to attend. So I mean that's also like a key difference. Like if it's a meeting full of compelling content, people will do that 10 p.m. call or that 6 a.m. call. If it's just like, oh, we're gonna meet, maybe there'll be topics, maybe there won't be topics, like who knows? You won't get like you'll only get attendance from people where it's really convenient to attend.
What what do you think about having two times? That is what we do now for the tech, because in the tech we have exactly this time problem, and we will have it here too, because we have an open pull request to get a new maintainer to the SDKs, and he's coming from India. So, and this will be the point where it will be so hard to find a time zone that works for everybody. So maybe we do it weekly, but do one that works great for West Coast, which is like 1 or 2 hours later than this call now is, and one that works way better for other people, which is maybe an hour or two later than this call is. And what I mean, it's recorded anyway, you have the agenda anyway. So what you can then do is, if you only go to one every second week, have a 5 minute read of the agenda. And if something is in the agenda where you say, oh, that's really interesting, you can still watch the recording. Maybe that, I understand the point that then you will have people who never met if they do not able to, like wake up very early or go to bed quite late and work in the evening. But maybe that is just another suggestion what we could do, because I understand the point with time constraints.
Yeah, like the way I kind of see it is, I post the agenda for the next week's call in Discord on Tuesday. I post it on Tuesday for next Monday's call. So people are able to look at the agenda, add to it for pretty much the entire week, like leading up to the meeting. Um, and I always try and make sure that my agenda items are in there as early as possible. And I mean, like I get what you're saying. Like if people like come in and like see an agenda and they don't see any interesting topics, they're not going to attend. And honestly, like that seems fine to me, right? It's like I kind of see this meeting as like a way for the community to get more insight and into Hiero SDKs. Like that's kind of the point. So if they don't see something on the agenda that necessarily interests them, then I wouldn't expect them to attend. Um, but uh, I I'm on the mindset that like yeah, more frequent meetings or in the sense like weekly better than bi-weekly just because it provides that insight. It provides the vision that Hiero SDK development is active and thriving, which is what we want to show. It gives that insight, and I just again like if we just have like not much on the agenda one week, then we only have a half-hour meeting, and that's fine. Like people, yeah, like people can still look at the recording and everything. Yeah, I do kind of like the idea, like what you were saying for what you do for the TAC meeting. Like we could just have like another meeting for a couple hours later if it really is ends up being a point of contention for like some people like to join. We want to try and be as open to those kinds of people and requests. So um, yeah. Angie, what are your thoughts? Do you like the weekly updates, or do you yeah, could you do bi-weekly? Like kind of, I like to kind of get more community thoughts on this.
I was part of the discussion. Keith and I had been discussing this last week as well. Um, I personally don't lean one way towards either option. This meeting happens at 8 EST time for me, so this happens about 10 and 11 my time. So for me, it doesn't, I should say, there's no specific way that I would choose, whether it's a weekly cadence or a bi-weekly. I I enjoy the weekly cadences just because I do like having the updated information, especially if there were things discussed over the weekend that maybe need to be shared with the rest of the team. So for that, I do like having them weekly, but at the same time, I do understand that there are those uh, living in areas where it is again very early or very late at night. I didn't think trying to remember who else is I there's one individual where this happens at I think like 11 o'clock for them because they're overseas. But in terms of opinion, I guess for me personally, it just depends on how the rest of the team feels in the sense, do we want to move it? Do we want to keep it bi-weekly and stuff like that? But to answer your question, don't really have a solid stance because it doesn't interfere with me all that much. So I leave it up to the team and to decide what we feel collectively as a whole is best for us.
Like I said, yeah, I just kind of wanted to ask you because I think the primary reason for this meeting is for community members, and you are a part of the community. You have joined and have been contributing for a while now. So I guess like w- what are the things that like you get out of this meeting, and um, I guess are you getting everything out of this meeting that you would like?
Personally, yes, I I enjoy it mostly because I know that there are other separate discussions where not everyone is a part of it. So having everybody brought up to speed, um, brought up to date is probably one of the more benefit. I'm sorry, I'm losing my words today. It's freezing where I am and I'm shivering. It is one of the more beneficial pieces for me in terms of why I attend. I do definitely feel as though I get a lot out of these meetings, and I definitely come out of it with new ideas. So for me, I enjoy having them weekly just because I like staying up to date. I like bouncing ideas. I like having the discussions. But again, I do understand where there are some individuals, it's a little late, it's a little early, it's not always easy on their schedule. But if we're just keeping it in terms of my perspective, I do enjoy them. I like talking with everybody. I definitely like having that up-to-date information, especially because there could be times where I could answer or ask a question or provide an answer to a question, and that information may not be relevant anymore. But I wouldn't know that simply because there wouldn't be any updates coming to me saying that, hey, this has changed, or hey, we're doing this way, or hey, what do you think of doing this way? I know we have the Discord and stuff like that, but I know there are people that sometimes they have to play catch up in the morning, or maybe they don't see all of the messages right away. And so having this meeting is kind of like, hey, let's catch up. Let's get back on the same page of where we were. Let's focus on this next week and the direction we want to go.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I know we're like way past, so maybe I know like a lot of people have dropped off. Maybe we can continue this talk next week. We can put on the first thing on the agenda for next week and get more opinions. Does that sound good for everyone?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll call it there. Thanks for joining everyone. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.